the news, the misinformation, the disinformation, sorting through all of it. It's a full-time job for your host, David Penn, coming to you from Minneapolis, Minnesota, the belly of the beast, Free People Radio Studios, here where we have communism in the upper Midwest, and we're fighting it. We're fighting it with truth, the search for truth. We're fighting it by being political activists. We're fighting it by being in the streets. We're fighting it by holding meetings, working with people. And tonight you are invited, just in a couple of hours at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central Time, go to X Spaces, go to @DanSchultz2, the number 2 @DanSchultz2. Please write it down, @DanSchultz2. That'd be the famous Dan Schultz of the Precinct Strategy, where we get together with a national meeting of human beings, American citizens, interested in self-governing through participation in the party. And we do not argue about issues. We do not talk about, current events. We are just strictly there to help you get involved in your party so that we have President Trump's back as we try to detox, as Secretary of the Treasury Bessent said this week, as we try to detox from this post-World War II Democrat liberal order, the New World Order, socialism, communism, the Democrat Party, liberalism, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, it's an anti-Christ philosophy, meaning to destroy the traditional, the Republican in this country. And they've been so successful. But we, the people, feeling threatened, knowing that we're in big trouble, there was an election, there was a new president, President Trump, and let's listen to the latest news from the White House press corps as represented to us by John Fredericks of this John Fredericks Radio Network.
Pretty amazing day right now at the White House. President Trump signing an executive order to effectively dismantle the Department of Education. Unbelievable. He's been here 7 weeks, 45 years. Republicans have told us they're going to get rid of the Department of Education. Started with Ronald Reagan in 1980. This department was set up by Jimmy Carter in 1979. No one has done it except today. Trump did it in 7 weeks. It's really an historic day if you believe that states and schools should be closer to the parents. He said that the budget for the Department of Education had gone up 600% in a very short period of time. He also said that you drive around Washington, there's all these bureaucrats in all these offices. He's getting rid of all of them. He's going to send the money back to the states. He said, I put Linda McMahon in charge of this because I want her to dismantle it so she doesn't have a job, and then we'll give her something else to do because she's that good. He also said that you got to remember, he said in 1979 there were Democrats that were opposed to this. He said the great senator from New York, Patrick Moynihan, fought it. He said a lot of the unions fought it. They didn't want the Fed taking over education. So he said it got too big, and then he started giving statistics out. 70% of 8th graders are below the mean, he said, in the country for math, for arithmetic, below the mean, and reading. He said, this was a stunning thing. He said in the city of Baltimore, he said 0% of their graduates, high school graduates, 0% can read or do basic arithmetic at a 6th grade level. I mean, it's just stunning, right? It's absolutely stunning, some of these numbers. And he said, look, he's going to protect those agencies that are very important. He's going to protect Title IX. He's going to protect special needs. He's going to protect handicapped children. And he said, look, we love our teachers. We love our children. We want the teachers to make more money. We want to put them in a position to be successful. He said, look, I offer 2 generous buyouts to the Department of Education bureaucrats, 2 of them. He said, but at the end of the day, they're out. We just don't need them. This is going back to the states, and we're going to dismantle it. They can't shut it down, as you know, because that will take congressional approval. But he basically said 90% of the staff is going to be gone. He also said that he signed an order today for the expansion of production of minerals and rare earths in the United States. He also said the country was doing absolutely fantastic, and he said he was very, very close to peace in Ukraine.
Yes, that's a lot for one day. Dismantling a federal agency, the centralization of power for education in Washington, D.C. And what has been the theme of education over the course of my lifetime? Well, it changed from teaching students to think critically to telling students what to think. And that is the purpose and the point of centralizing education in Washington, in the Emerald City. Now, this money and this authority to work with the students, with the children, will return to the states and then will return to the neighborhoods where each individual neighborhood will actually be able to contribute to shape education policy for their own children. And I've put 6 kids through this system, and I've watched it deteriorate over a very, very long period of time. And to hear that 0% of the kids in Baltimore graduate with proficiency is simultaneously heartbreaking and discouraging because, a democracy, actually better said a republic, depends on an informed, engaged, and moral populace. Otherwise, you deteriorate in the kind of materialist chaos that we're living in right now today. Again, I was talking to a friend of mine. I talked about this a couple nights ago on the show. If you were with me, thank you for joining again. Happy Friday to you, by the way. Hope you have a great weekend. I was talking to a friend of mine whose wife is a teacher, and she only makes $36,000 a year to teach. $36,000 to teach in the public schools, but the administrator who she works for makes $250,000 a year. So here's another grift, yet another grift that's going on in our society where the actual teachers who actually are on the front lines working with students, trying to help them develop to become conscious, to become ethical, moral, critical thinkers to contribute to our society, they're making $36,000, but the guy sitting in the desk messing with the money who never interfaces with students is just there to ride herd on the money. He's picking up $250,000 a commission. This kind of thing is why we're all upside down. We're upside down because there's corruption. See, now they don't call that corrupt because it's legal, but to me, it's just corruption. It's just legalized corruption, no different than when you go into your state and you find out there's going to be, Lutheran services or Catholic services or Jewish services, some kind of NGO, non-governmental organization, a 501c3 organization, not supposed to make a profit, but the leader, the CEO of that nonprofit is making $500,000 or $750,000 a year. Hey, if you want to make that kind of money, go open a business and deliver a product or a service and get it because you're excellent. Don't get it because you're able to grift off of the taxpayers. It's very simple. We've lost our way and we're trying to find it again.